So moved.
Second.
By John, second by Blake. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to item number 4. Consider the first reading of ordinance 543, amending City Code Article 3, sale of tobacco and tobacco-related devices.
So in your packets is ordinance 543. Again, basically two components to the ordinance as it's amending our existing tobacco ordinance. First piece of it is the background check stuff that the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension tells us we need for doing a criminal background check to meet their requirements. And then the next section is the proximity to school section at the 300 feet. And from the nearest building wall of the school. So it doesn't affect existing license holders, but if that use is discontinued at a location for 12 months, they would not be able to renew that. Also, had Todd County in your packet, there's a updated map, basically from the building walls of the school buildings. And so that is, basically the geographic impact based on where the school buildings currently are.
I will move the first reading of the updated ordinance 543.
Second.
A motion by Mary and a second by John. Any further discussion?
My concern is I've just kind of been snooping and I'm not real savvy with that. But a lot of it is saying property line, not the building. And that's what I was talking to Gerald with. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a big difference in that.
And to kind of elaborate what she's saying here, I've also kind of researched a little bit, and a lot of what I'm seeing too is not necessarily calling it the proximity to schools, they're calling it a school zone. Hence where the kind of the property line thing comes into place too. Instead of it saying proximity to schools, it's actually defined as under the Minnesota state statute that it's a school zone. And a school zone specifies the property line or one block.
Is that specifically related to tobacco ordinances? I think local governments in the tobacco realm can put restrictions in place based on what they want. And when we were, the proximity language related to the, basically the occupied school buildings, that came up in the THC discussion, and looking at just the acreage, the vast acreage that the school owns.
Right.
Stuff that has nothing to do with students or, different things like that. Creates a great big blob of blue. But I think the intent is to keep it far enough, a certain distance from students.
Right. I guess, I don't know, I guess my kind of take on that too is if it's limited to just the buildings, what happens is like today I delivered flowers to the school and there's students out on the football field. Now does that change the game? Because now the football field is being occupied by students. Because the zone here doesn't cover the entire football field, I guess what I'm saying. Or is it still strictly just internal buildings?
Well, our ordinance says school buildings. Those same students are gonna walk home or drive home after practice too.
Right. But this was like a school function, the Phi Ed class was out there, so that's just the only reason that kind of made me think of that.
So you're saying ours says, Staples says we go by the building wall, not by the property. And
Yeah.
that's where you're getting what you would get around the property line issue?
Well, the language that we have in here is distance, I'll read it.
Well, that was what Roy brought up last time too, was the distance from the school wall building
Right.
across the football field. So I was under the impression that it was just the occupied building itself.
Yeah. Buildings that are occupied by students.
The way the language reads, it's the 300 feet. It says, as measured by the shortest line from the building of the space to be occupied by the proposed licensee to the nearest building wall of a school. So basically wall to wall, whatever that shortest distance is.
So it wouldn't matter if they're occupying the football field. So if the school would build a building on this football field, then would that have to go from that wall?
Any future applications would be reviewed using that distance. It was brought to my attention that, with the school's addition plans for the walking track, at the school, that
It's gonna be,
wall
pretty much
is gonna
take up
change
that
locations.
parking
So
area.
then, once that wall is there, the 300-foot measurement goes from that wall.
Okay.
No different, if you went from the property line and the school acquired a half a block across the street, that property line changes. So it's not something that's gonna be a fixed location into perpetuity, but it's something that's understandable when people look at the ordinance.
And the city attorney looked it up or wrote this up, so
Yep.
it should be.
Is that something that's gonna have to come before council every time it changes?
No.
I mean,
No,
tonight we're voting on the blue areas on this map.
Well.
If it
tonight
changes-
we're- Yeah, tonight we're voting on the language.
Okay.
The map is an interpretation of
right.
what the language,
As of
depiction of
today.
what the language is, as things currently are out there today.
So if a building changes, it just has to be it'll adapt to what this language of this ordinance.
Yeah, and the map really is irrelevant.
Just a reference.
Going into the future. I only did the map, I did one map for the THC and tobacco as was proposed before, just to be able to visually, have the council visually see what the impact of the language was. So in the city code and stuff going forward, that map isn't part of.
The code.
It's just the language.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Move on to consider action related to Todd County tax forfeit parcels.
So in your packet, there is a letter, the county, when they're moving through their tax forfeiture process, one of the requirements is that they notify the municipality in which the tax forfeiting property is, wanting to know if we, as the city in this case, have an interest in these two parcels, if we also have a strong feeling that it's overvalued or undervalued or whatever as far as what they're proposing to sell it for. So there's two parcels that have gone tax forfeit and have not yet gone to the actual sheriff's sale. They are one down in Bigelow Edition, the other in Jenkins. There's a couple of aerial photos in here showing those two. One basically at the corner of Illinois and Long Prairie Road. The other at Long Prairie Road and Kansas Avenue. The larger of the two is vacant. The smaller used to have a house on it, still has a small shed on there right now. And I believe that's probably a 75-foot lot. So they're both buildable lots in the city with utilities available, zone residential. But, I don't know that from a public purpose standpoint, there's any benefit to us, acquiring them, So unless there's other opinions from the council, I would say, we notify the county that we aren't interested in acquiring them and let them go ahead and sell them on the sale. Hopefully, people build houses on them.
Yeah. They look like two good lots for that purpose.
So from a price standpoint, the larger of the two, they've got 10,500. The smaller, they've got 7,000. And there's no outstanding assessments on the smaller one. There's deferred assessments of just over 5,000 on the larger one, since they've never hooked up. They were never assessed.
There's no advantage to us having them from the standpoint of enticing someone to build on there.
Well, the public purpose provision ties it up for, I believe it's 30 years. If we were to say, we wanted to put a city parking lot, you basically have to live under that covenant, if you will, for a 30-year period. We have acquired other property, but by that means the stuff on the west side of 6th Street Northeast between Ski Hill Drive and Prairie Avenue was a tax forfeited property that we acquired for public purpose, basically 30 years ago now. There's a couple of other parcels on the south side that we acquired using that. And basically you're able to acquire it for nothing. They basically do a conveyance to the city, but it comes with that requirement that it remain used as for public purpose for that long time. So the residential development question, if we were going to do that, basically get them to turn around and sell them, we would have to pay for it. So
Sure.
And is there a time, we couldn't sell it within the 30 years then, or?
not if you acquire it under public purpose, unless you're willing to go back retroactively, I believe, Dan. I haven't looked at that statute for a while, but there's strings attached.
30 years is a long time. I won't be wrong.
So we need a,
If there's no interest, I would just, go ahead and make motion to authorize Scott County to move forward with their sale.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
motion by John, second by Blake to have the county go ahead and proceed with their sale. Any further discussion on that? If not, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right,
So if it goes for sale and they can't get like 10,500, can we bid on it then, or no? We only have this,
Typically, what they'll do is they'll offer it over the counter at any point after that for that dollar amount. But if it doesn't sell, the commissioners typically will start reducing the asking price.
fire sale, huh?
Buy it for one penny.
Yeah. Just
Because
keep on.
in the meantime, they need to maintain it, mow it, and everything else, so there is
Yeah.
motivation to.
So we can just follow it and see what's happening with
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
all right, move on to number 6, consider road closure for the community center parking lot, a portion of 4th Avenue and connecting road to Centennial Drive, May 18th from 4 to 8 p.m. for the bike rodeo.
So in your packet, there's a beautiful illustration of the area that we're talking about. I don't know, Lacey, did you do that? Out of the file. So anyway, May 18th, Thursday evening, bike rodeo, so the parking lot will be full of little kids on their bikes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carried. Consider request from Charmed Coffee to allow extended operation for the 2023 Grad Blast.
So, received an email from Nicole Logajon, the owner of Charm Coffee. She's been asked by the Grad Blast Committee to set up on the west side of the community center and basically serve beverages from 11 to 1, which is outside of our normal operation hours for the mobile food units on the ordinance. So she's requesting that we grant a waiver or give her permission or look the other way, whatever you want to say, much like we do for railroad days.
What happens when one of those kids decide to go out for a coffee and then they wander around?
Oh, they can't do that.
Oh,
Then they can't,
barely you were a kid.
then they can't go back in.
Well, apparently they have been doing, I don't know, Lacey was telling me earlier, because back in 1986, when I went to the first Grad Blast, if you left, you couldn't come back in.
Right.
But apparently they have done some activities out in the parking lot as part of Grad Blast in recent years. Long after I'm in bed, so.
I didn't know that.
That keeps them awake so they can stay up all night.
Well, yeah, I was like, why would you want to caffeinate them?
Yeah.
But, no, I think it would be fine to do that and support the Grad Blast Committee.
I'll move the acceptance. From 11 p.m. to 1 a.m.
Motion by Mary,
I'll second.
second by John. Any discussion more on this? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Move on to number 8, consider approval of resolution 1900 adopting assessment roll number 341.
So this is related to the paving of Airview Drive up in Park Estates. So want to get that on the tax rolls with Wooding County.
I'll make a motion for the approval of resolution 1900.
Motion by John,
Second.
by Mary. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Number 9, consider approval of tobacco license for Staples Tobacco Shop LLC at 215 Second Avenue Northeast.
So in your packet, there is another application for the smoke shop from the same individual. As you can see, the letter from the chief indicates that after careful review of the application, she still finds the applicant in an ineligible status and ultimately recommends that we not approve the tobacco license.
I will make that motion that we do not approve this tobacco license.
Second.
Is that you, Blake? Yep. Okay. Motion by Mary, second by Blake. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 10, consider request from Diane and Joel Ulring to split parcel number 38-0014400.
So in your packet, there is a parcel split request application form. And I'll have you refer to the third page in there, which is the actual survey. So I can kind of explain what we're talking about here. Basically, the west side of 4th Street, north of 2nd Avenue, starting at the corner, going up to the north wall of the Stomping Grounds Coffee Shop is all right now one parcel owned by Joel Ulring. The coffee shop location is what is being proposed to be split off. And with the pending sale of that property for the coffee shop. So
would it have to be, you can't just do one parcel of that thing, can you?
Well, it actually at one time was a separate building.
Oh,
So there's a common wall. We do, and I've been in communication with Tom Selno, the attorney that's been working on this, and Joe Kruger. It's very similar to what we did with Ken Hale's property just to the north, where we split it off. They did, O-rings apply for variance to, because of the minimum lot size in commercial, which was granted. And so we'll require a common wall agreement to be executed at closing for that, but nothing is changing as far as the buildings itself, so.
because at one time there was that extra room,
Yep, they had punched through the wall.
and that'll just be,
It has been for.
yeah, but that isn't part of this, it's just the coffee shop
Just the
proper.
coffee shop.
That's strange.
I make a motion that we split the parcel or move forward on splitting the parcel.
Motion by Blake, second by Mary Jo. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, that brings us to committee reports, starting with the airport board.
Got it. Copy of the minutes are in your packet, but the airport board did meet on Thursday, April 6th. Sarah Mattis from Short Elliott Hendrickson was there. We talked over our 20-year CIP for the airport. Kind of the next big project on that CIP is a 6-unit T-hangar project that, because of the way the funding works, we're proposing to split into 2 different segments. One being the preliminary design and engineering portion of it this year, and then actual construction next year. So reviewed the engineering architecture agreement, or architect engineering agreement, get it in the right order for this, for the 2023 6-unit T-hangar project. And recommendation from the Airport Advisory Board to the council was that we enter into that agreement and approve it. And talked about a couple of other projects, hangar door maintenance project, and also our fuel system computer that we have out there is going to need to be upgraded soon. So looking for funding opportunities for that. So only action item would be to approve that architect and engineering agreement with SEH.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mary. Second by John. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Now we'll move on to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board.
Parks and Rec Board met on April 11th with everybody in attendance. Summer swim lessons registration is good to go, and if people have been registering, we're pretty much full for our session 1 preschool already, so it's going good for registration. Park cleanup date is still to be determined, along with planting of boulevard trees and stuff like that. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, we'll get that done. Did talk to Blake about when our trees would be in and stuff like that, and he gave us an estimated time, which should be sometime this week. Talked about doing Arbor Day with FFA, still not sure when that'll be, even though that's this Friday. It might be a later date that we do that for planting. Talked about FFA doing our flowers again, and it was brought to our attention that FFA does a fundraiser with all the extra plants that we purchase, which was a surprise. So we talked about that and are weighing out our options at this point. Bike rodeo, May 18th, blood drive, May 19th. There are still slots open if anybody needs to donate blood, give me a call. Gorton brought up the painting of the caboose, and Gerald said that he had talked to Jeff Hess, and it could be possibly in the near future. Barn quilts for NP Park in Lincoln got named, and there will be a 50th reveal of the 50th barn quilt at NP Park this summer that we will do, so everybody's invited to that. Will get posted and everything with dates and times. The street operators had asked if we could store skating rink equipment in our warming house over the summer, and everybody agreed that that would be a good idea. And we adjourned the meeting at 5:47.
What did you ever get a hold of the lady at the school to tell her that we weren't gonna be needing the flowers where she ordered them from?
We did talk and see if they would reconsider buying them from Williams Floral, and she said she had talked to the principal, so I'm waiting to hear back on that. So if they're willing to do that, and we're still purchasing them, that might be in our best interest still. Any other questions?
Thanks, Lacy. Move on to Planning and Zoning Commission.
Planning and zoning met on Tuesday, the 18th. Minnesota Farmers Union, you recall last fall, the conditional use permit was approved for the meat cutting operation out in the industrial park. Gary Wordish with the Farmers Union approached us here a couple weeks ago, and he and some other folks with Farmers Union related to the project came to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. The agenda item was to set a public hearing for another conditional use permit that would include the on-site harvest of the animals that had been proposed to be done over the Motley area. So we had some good discussion, got some questions answered, but really the next meeting is the public hearing. So they will come with information on that, and so most of that was related to that item. Ultimately, Planning and Zoning did set the public hearing for May 16th, and that'll be the next opportunity to talk about it. So, did I send you the preliminary plat, the proposed preliminary plat?
I think so.
Must not have. Well, I meant to send Tara. And I'll bring it to the next meeting, but I think I shared a month or so ago that, that outlot A that we purchased. I might be able to pull it up here. Just so everybody knows what we're talking about. So if everybody can see that, outlot A, which is labeled here, is basically everything out of this platted area. All of this up here. And we've been working with Jim Kramer from KLD, the surveyor that was involved in this project initially, to develop some different concepts to basically replat these duplex lots around the cul-de-sac right here to more traditional single-family lots, and then to do single-family lots, basically bordering this purple line, which would be a future road. I believe we'll be able to put in an additional 24 residential lots up there. So, and we've kind of kicked that around for quite a while, planning and zoning kind of configurations and layout, and have something that I think is pretty functional that I was gonna share with the council tonight, but I forgot.
Didn't we have a handout with some plating or some things up around that corner already?
Yeah, we've talked about it.
Yeah, okay.
At the council, yeah.
So that should be a revised, updated.
Yeah. So I'll get that to you for the next meeting. You can take a look at it. The actual preliminary plat process, basically, it's a whole process that goes through planning and zoning and ultimately to the council for approval, so. But anyway, yeah, so it's good discussion, and made a few tweaks here a month or so ago on that, and that's some very nice lots up there.
Nice.
And that was all we had for the meeting, so hold on, I skipped did we have the Reese? Where do we have that? Gary Wordish, Wilson. Oh, here we go, sorry, I skipped an entire setting of a public hearing. Brian Reese, who purchased the property up at the corner of Garden and Third Street, the old Odden construction buildings up there. He acquired those, what was it, about a year ago? Maybe not even that long ago. But because it's a residential zone, that storage use is considered a grandfather non-conforming use, which if you want to expand, it requires a conditional use permit to do so. So he applied for that CUP, we set the public hearing, same date as the other one.
So he wants to expand off of the existing buildings? there?
Yeah, he's removing one of the small oldest structures, and he basically wants to put a lean-to on the side of the shed. There, that's all we talked about.
All right. Any other questions for Gerald with planning and zoning? If not, we'll go on to open forum. Anybody have anything for open forum this evening?
I do one more question. Who takes care of the pathway, up by the overpass and through the woods?
The trail,
Yeah, just,
Public Works.
so they do, okay.
Yeah.
Somebody asked me who kept that up in the winter, and I said, well, I thought the city did.
Yeah, we plow it, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think you guys ran the broom down at least some of it already this spring, cleaned it up.
All right. Anything else on open forum?
Yeah, I know, it kind of made me think of this, but, on our streets, I know maybe not in the winter, we don't always do this, but they used to during the summer months anyways, because I worked for Parks and Rec, so I remember doing this, but, the city trash cans on the streets, what's the reasoning as to why we don't do that anymore?
We pulled those, I would guess, 2 years ago. Basically, people were putting household garbage in them, and they were full all the time, overflowing,
Okay.
which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the same reason we lock up the dumpsters out of the parks.
well,
I knew you asked me, but I couldn't ask me. I already asked him.
it's just,
Did I give the same answer?
wish,
good.
wish they weren't used like that, because
Well, yeah, it's,
it would be nice to have them on the streets, so there's not clutter on the streets, but.
Yeah, instead of there, they just throw it on the ground.
Yeah.
Frustrating.
yeah, that's why we don't have the garbage can outside of City Hall that we had for years, and have the smaller one inside. People would clean out their cars and shove their, all the garbage, and find kitchen-sized garbage bags of garbage in there. I don't know how they get it in there. Opening's only about yay big, but
They need to get rid of it, they'll find a way.
always full.
Okay.
All right, move on to city administrators report.
I don't have anything formal, just a reminder, citywide cleanup on the 19th. The park cleanup stuff, obviously we have parks and campgrounds opening coming up here in the middle of May, with snow still on the ground in certain locations, we're gonna be pushing our luck, trying to get all of the cleanup stuff done and get ready to go. Don't know if we should when we should turn the water on up there. So people will have to understand that, it's a Minnesota spring, so. The guys, in the same week, had the sweeper out sweeping the streets and plowing snow later that week, so it's been one of those years.
I can't wait to look at the streets totally done. I'm tired of sleeping.
Oh, well, and there's so much sand this year. We went through so much sand, salt this winter.
Our plow guy really plows. Oof. At Jesse's, we just raked the other day and it was all the way up to his fence.
Yeah.
Took the blower out.
Especially with those heavy snows, you
Yeah,
gotta
are
be
they still
moving.
gonna do white goods at the city wagon too?
Yep. Yep, the same stuff that we've had the last several years, including household hazardous waste, so.
Okay,
Your
that'll come out
paint
in the next-
cans and all of that kind of stuff, yep.
That'll come out in the city.
Yep, it's in the rumor mill, which I think is in a box ready to be mailed out next day or two, tomorrow, today,
Probably by the end of this week.
end of this week.
Unless you want to stuff everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure this was like
They
that.
look like they were all stuffed. Don't ask me.
Awesome. All right, if nothing else, we'll,
Move to adjourn.
move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mary, second by John. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned.
In the well, they're down by 2.
Yeah. Twins are winning.